I need you guys to tell me, what are the nicknames that you've heard for an emergency fund? I've heard it being called the GOK fund. Have you ever heard that before? God only knows fund. I know a lot of people refer to it as the Granny's rainy day fund. What do you call it? What do you call your emergency fund? And if you have an emergency fund savings account, what have you labeled it? I think I'm gonna... Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel. If you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Samantha, and on this channel I sit down to talk about all things personal development, personal finances, and entrepreneurship. Today's video is a personal finance video, and I'm going to be setting myself up on a challenge, a real challenge, to save up money into an account, a savings account, as my emergency fund. So it's one thing for me to come and talk about saving money and all of these ways that you can save money, and sharing with you all these tips on how to save money, or to save more money, or to save faster. If I'm not applying those things, it's just something that I'm just coming and saying and just to get views and stuff. So what I've decided to do is, instead of just talking about how to save money and the different ways that you can save money, I'm going to be applying those things in my own life. And I'm going to start with the emergency fund. Sometimes when you have a savings account, you will have all your money in one spot or one place, and you really start to feel rich because you're seeing all this money accumulate. You're proud of yourself, and you may just go and reward yourself. But then from rewarding yourself, you know, I'm honestly speaking from experience. This is something that I've done too many times, actually not more than once. I've done it far too many times. So I was talking about having different accounts for different things. Say you're getting married and you want to start putting money together for that, or you want to buy a car in 6 months, a year, or 2 years, and you just start putting money aside for that particular goal. And it would help to have targeted accounts or saving systems to allow me to save for each of these items without just seeing the money as a lump sum into one savings account. So emergencies will vary from person to person and between circumstances. If I don't have a car, then I don't have the emergency of a car breaking down. And the professionals always recommend that you have at least 3 months of living expenses. So when we're talking about your living expenses, your luxuries are not an emergency. Like, those are not things that you're going to be buying or needing when you are living on a budget. Your movie night, date nights, those things may be scrapped off. And to establish your numbers, you need to be writing it down. You need to document or have a way of knowing how much you're actually spending on each of these items. I have, over the past, I don't even know when I started, I think it's 5-6 years ago, I was struggling with knowing what I'm doing with the money that I'm getting. I would earn so much, and at the end of the month, I know that I've spent all that I've earned. I've even spent more than I've earned because I'm now using a credit card. And I was asking myself, like, what have I done with the money that I've earned over the past year? So I decided to start writing and documenting every single one of my expenses. So I started writing down whatever I spend on. So even if I spend $1 or 1 dirham, I will write it down. So having this detailed breakdown of how I'm spending my money allows me to know how much I'm spending on what. So if it comes to it, as it would now that I'm working on saving for an emergency fund, I have to go through this and see what are the essentials, what can I do without, and what can I scrap off, or what are the luxuries and comforts that I'm paying for now that I could do without in an emergency and I'm just living on the bare minimum. What can I scrap out, and how much really am I spending, or how much really on average do I need if I want to stay in the same city I'm staying in. Right now I'm in Dubai, and I know a decent apartment, a decent 1-bedroom apartment would cost me almost or just about $1,000 a month. I need to have at least 3 months worth of rent. That's $3,000. How much does it cost to get around using taxis and metro, bus, or if I have a car, how much do I need to fuel? And let's just call it 500 dirhams or 550 dirhams, which is equivalent to $150. So adding to that, now I need, for accommodation and transportation without food, I need $1,150. Now to add to my groceries, I know on average I spend between $250 and $350 on groceries. So now adding that to the $1,150, I now need $1,500 to eat, live, and get around without doing anything else. So this $1,500 is, if I can call it, the bare minimum. And to be honest, in all honesty, that's not even enough because I haven't included my internet bill, water, gas, electricity. So for those items, which are still essentials, estimate say $500, another $500. This is not even accounting like for my hair and nails. So based on this, I would need at least $2,000 a month as the bare minimum living expense per month. And the general rule of thumb in building or creating or saving up for your emergency fund is to have at least 3 to 9 months of living expenses. So based on this calculation that I've made, I need at least $6,000 equivalent in an account as an emergency fund, that if God forbid I'm not able to work and I want to look for a job in the same city or to live here for 3 months, I need to at least have $6,000. Another more common way of calculating how much you should have into your emergency fund is just looking at your gross. In this instance, you take your salary. If your salary is $5,000, you can just set aside 3 full salaries worth as your emergency fund. It will take longer than having 3 basic living expenses worth into a savings account as your emergency fund than it would to have 3 salaries full. So when we're setting our goals, we have to be smart about it. We have to set achievable and attainable goals relevant to our circumstances and our lifestyle and how we actually are living now. So whatever is realistic for you, go by that and set yourself targets that allow you to feel more achieved. So if you set aside 1 month's worth of living expenses, then you manage to set up the second and the third month of living expenses. And once you have that lump sum, you can still keep building on it. You can still keep putting in money into it until you have a full month's salary in there, and 2 months salary and 3 months salary. And then you set it aside saying, my emergency fund is set. And when an emergency does occur, use the money. Use the money. You may feel a bit guilty, like, oh, why am I using my emergency fund? Like, this money is just supposed to be there, but it's there for an emergency and you can rebuild it. So don't ever feel like, oh, it's the money that I should never, ever, ever, ever touch. You should touch it when an emergency occurs, but not for anything else, not for going on a holiday or buying something that you might need, but that's not really in line with it. That's why we are talking about having different accounts for different things. So the challenge that I'm setting for myself is to save $10,000 over the next 12 months. So in order to do this, I need to set aside $833. I'll just call it $850 every month for the next 12 months. First of all, it's not going to happen by itself. I have a few strategies that I'm going to be using to make sure that I meet this goal. The first thing that I've done is I've already opened a savings account and I have declined the debit card. So I'm not going to be shopping online from this account or being tempted to swipe or to put it into the ATM and draw out some cash from it. The point is to save first before you start spending, because once you start spending, you realize that your paycheck is never enough. You never, ever, ever have enough money. There is such a thing as lifestyle inflation, which is basically you living up to how much you're earning. So when you're earning $1,000, you live up to $1,000. So you earning $2,000 doesn't really mean that you're going to be saving that extra $1,000. Somehow you inflate your lifestyle to spending more because you have more to spend. If you've enjoyed this video, I am sure that you will enjoy this one or this one. Actually, I think you would enjoy both. So click on one of these videos right after this one and I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.